this out.
You're gonna learn today.
Welcome to the Lakeside Chat. I'm your host, Brother John Muhammad, here with another wonderful panel at the Childs Park Lake, and we want to welcome you. The Lakeside Chat is a community conversation with local community leaders, activists, and more importantly, everyday people. And so you can join the conversation by going to facebook.com/CDAT Center, facebook.com/CDAT Center. Leave your comments, post about it, and enjoy the conversation. So again, I'm your host, Brother John Muhammad, and we'll have our guests introduce themselves and we'll start the chat.
I'm Jabbar Edmonds on 909 Films and a lot of different other things. And I'm in the community.
And I am Monique Howard with More Resources, a community activist and also an event planner.
I'm Alonzo Howard, aka Zoe. I'm a musician, producer. Been born and raised in St. Pete, but right now I'm in Georgia trying to promote my music, and I'm in the community as well.
I'm Denise Swisher. I'm an activist. I'm pretty much better known as Peanut's mom. My son was killed in 2006.
Excellent. Thank you for that, and we'll go right into it. Recently, particularly in the last 7 weeks, we've had 7 murders in 7 weeks. To say that that's a problem is definitely an understatement, and a lot of times when we look at these things happening in these spikes, we forget that it's not something that just started happening. And so we were talking before we started recording about some of the earlier spikes and some of the earlier generations that had these similar spikes. And Ms. Swisher, you mentioned how your son was a part of one of those, I guess we would call it a wave. Right. So would you mind sharing a little bit about what you were saying earlier?
Brother Jabbar was saying something about, about what was going on now, and I said it's more concerning, or it's getting more attention because of the age of the individuals that are being killed. These are our babies.
Right.
These are our future. My son was killed, like I said, in 2006, and he was 18. He had just graduated 2 weeks before, from St. Pete High. And, whenever I hear of another child dying or being murdered, the first thing I think of is the parent, the mother. Because I remember when they came to me and told me my son was gone. I can't even begin to describe. When I say my soul hurt, it was a pain I had never experienced. It's just something you can't explain, and the kids run out and go to the t-shirt man, get the shirt. Those shirts fade. Right. Those shirts, are put in the back of the closet eventually. But we as parents and family members, that pain never goes anywhere. We get to the point where we can deal, because there was a time where I was so medicated up because that's the only way I could function. Right. But I was in a daze, I would walk around like a zombie. It was, and all these horrible thoughts go through your mind when you lose your child. I don't want to be here. But I have to remember, Peanut wasn't my only child. Right. I have, 4 more over here. Mom, we need you. Right. And I'm thinking, and it's just like, it's become the norm in our community. Right. To bury our children. And you said when he was murdered in 2006, he was the 10th, because right now they're putting the numbers on 7. I think they said it was 13, now it's 14 in 2015 that were murdered. And 7 in 7 weeks. And 7 in 7 weeks. Right. And they did the march. The mayor actually did a march down Central. And I asked him, I said, well, Mayor, why did you march down Central? When the murders are happening in the South Side. And he gave me the statistical answer. It was at that time, it was 7 of them were on the South Side and 6 of them were north of Central. And so he walked down Central because he's the mayor of the city. So I was like, okay, I'll give you that one. But 7 in 7 weeks, those 7 happened in our community. Right. And so that's a concern for us. And what it showed me is that,
we can't rely on politicians and political figures to really address our issues and our concerns. And so when we talk about the violence, what would you say are some of the causes? What causes, you know, things to escalate to a point where it ends in murder? Anybody want to comment on that?
My thing is, first and foremost, it's happening to our younger generation, like we said. Where are they getting these guns from so easily? Right. Like, I'm thinking that maybe it's, you know, of course, maybe it's so easy to get one. The older dudes, probably like 28, 30, that's been out here, used to be bad, got access to guns, and they don't care if they might sell them to them. Just, you know, they ain't gonna turn down no money.
For money.
Yeah. Money is money, so I'm thinking, you getting so much easy access to these guns, and then when a young child get their hand on the gun, they don't know how to act. They think they gotta shoot it. They listen to the music. The music influenced them to try to act like, and the rappers don't really do that. But as a young,
they did, they'd be in jail. That's like you killed as many people as you said you did on your record. You know
what I'm saying? Right. And then the videos, you know, and I think they, as a young child, you don't really understand. You think they're really doing that. Right. I'm not saying that's the reason. Right. I'm just saying it's more. It's kind of influence.
It's an influence, and that's something, and it has to be considered. The influence.
I wanted to jump on what he was saying about the guy selling it for money. And so, like, as far as like us living in this community, we have to come up with so many ways to make money. It's ridiculous, you know. Like, you have to. I got to jump through these 10 hurdles to try to make these $10. Right. You know, so it's like people gonna start getting desperate, especially some people that may not be educated to think of the 10 to get over those 10 hurdles. They gonna think, let me get these $50 real quick. I'm gonna sell this to whoever. You know, so money is a big part of the situation. Lack of businesses in the area is a big part of it. Like,
because if you productive, then you don't have time to be dealing with all of those.
And then if you do the math and the amount of money you making, is it worth your freedom? Is it worth it? You know what I'm saying? You could have made maybe 2/3 of that money going to work versus you doing it the quick way and putting your life in jeopardy. What's $50 less if you just had a job? Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like if they had that option, this wouldn't be necessarily so at the forefront.
I think it got a lot to do with, you know, people feel hopeless. You know what I mean? In a lot of these communities, a lot of these young guys, they don't see the opportunity, and their horizon hasn't been broadened enough to see the opportunities that they have. And when you're dealing with them and they thinking like that, they are desperate. These are crimes of opportunity and desperation. They're not just making clear decisions because the revenue never adds up. You know what I mean? And it's never gonna add up. But if they had, it's like the people who care is gonna be our job to like really give these guys some kind of opportunity, like some kind of like. We can't keep asking the city for money. We got to pool our resources and put some money together and hire some of these kids. Right.
And you know what I mean? And dealing with causes on this, how much of the neighborhood thing do you think is a part of it? Because I know definitely the money is a motivator, but a lot of times we also hear about, you know, he got killed because he was in the wrong neighborhood, or he wasn't from here, or you know, you hear about this neighborhood beef. So what do you think about that?
And there was a time where I felt that way. You know, my son was from the Bethel Heights area. Never lived in Bethel Heights, but he was about that, you know, in Childs Park. And back then, you know, they were beefing or whatever. But I remember I was told I was going to bring the two groups together at the Uhuru house, and they told me I'm going to cause a bloodbath. By the time we left there, because they did come, Bethel and Childs Park came, they were hugging and, you know, they were good. Right. You know what I mean? And they said it could never be done. It hadn't been done in over 30 years because their fathers were beefing, you know, and it's just, if you ask me, it's ignorance. Right. You know, because nobody, you know, if you own a house in St. Pete, you're lucky. Yeah. Because I definitely don't, you know. And it's just like, our children, there are no resources. You know, they get a felony for some stupid charge, you know what I mean? Nobody wants to hire them, you know what I mean? My husband is a felon. He had to go all the way to Oldsmar to get a job, you know, by an individual that's, okay, I'm seeing what's going on, let me give this brother a chance, you know what I mean?
You don't get that
Right, you know, and it's crazy. They make one mistake, and you know, they feel like, I got to do it, you know, whatever it takes to survive, you know.
And just to pull that string a little bit on the neighborhood beef, and you said that they said it would never happen.
Right.
From your experience, what was at the root of it when you got these young men in a room and they started discussing what was the problem? What was really at the root?
They didn't know. They didn't know where it, you know, how it initiated or anything. They had no clue. They just knew you. You know, Shelly, a young man named Shelly. You're from Bethel, and you know the other guys from in Shady Side. You know what I mean? And it was crazy.
But they really didn't know what was at the root of it.
They had no clue.
Right.
And you know the gentleman at the Uhuru House, they said, put down the guns. You call us. We'll put you in a ring and fight it out like we did.
Right.
You know, but because you know what? Those guns give them strength.
Yeah.
You know, it gives them strength. Boy, I'm bad. Run up on me. You know, this is how they're thinking, you know, and it's sad, you know. But then right here, across the street from Sticko on 34th and 22nd Avenue, you know, we got a new business.
What's that business?
Oh, a pawn shop selling guns for you can get an AK for $300-400.
Right.
You know what I mean? And if you go out on the street and you see a drug addict that has no criminal record can go in there and purchase that gun for $50 in crack, you know what I mean, and hand it over to you, then you know what? You just murdered another one of our children.
Right. And that answers your question about where they're getting these guns from, because I asked that question also, and one of the things that Police Chief Holloway said that they're getting them when they break into cars, because you know we're having this wave of auto theft, and they said when they break into cars, people who own guns legally are being irresponsible with the guns, because you know when Obama was elected, everybody went out and bought guns, and since then, you know, because he's gonna take our guns, and so they have this movement in the country among, you know, not necessarily our community, but you know, Caucasians, white folks really believe that, you know, they need guns in order to protect themselves, and they're buying guns, and then when they leave their car open, they're breaking into the cars and they're finding these guns in those cars, and also when they do residential burglaries, they're finding them.
And there's a lot of teens that's doing those crimes. Like you leave your car at a gas station with the keys in it, they either gonna rummage through that car or they gonna steal the car.
Right.
And like you say, that's where the guns at. And I think, you know, a lot of it really is like they ain't thinking about what they doing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Almost instantly, you know they ain't thought about it.
Yeah.
And we gotta kind of give them a mechanism or some way
get them to start
get them to think about it.
And that's
if we can intervene somewhere in between, you know what I mean?
Right.
That's because I know everybody's like, you know, what can we do? You know, what can we put in place? And I'm tired of the parties. You know, like that's the thing, that they think this life is about partying and fun. Like I feel like we need to change the perception of what they think life is.
Right.
Because like he was saying, the videos and the you know, the dope boys and you know,
life
money.
is a party.
You know what I'm saying? And it's not. You know what I'm saying? And that's the life. That's why these things could be happening, because you know, you moving really fast, doing things on on that lane, and that's not real life. Like that's gonna be a life that's gonna be short.
Right.
You know, so it's like I think that is my focus with my kids. Like when they go to school, they ain't got no money. I don't always have money, but I'll go buy them some candy. You know what I'm saying? They go sell candy in school. They come home with $30 and I'm broke. But you know, I'm teaching
just showing them
how
to be
other ways to get money.
Right.
You know,
So you don't have
to kind of elaborate on what you said. I'm gonna be honest. I was doing my little thug thing, you know, being young and dumb. I used to represent 54. That was our clique. Our arch rivals was Child's Park. On sight, when we see you, we just gonna fight. For no reason, just because you from Child's Park and I'm from 54. So when I started getting a little older, you know, because I started young, about 21. It took me to 21 to realize how dumb this is, right? So then I told one of my homies on the block, I said, bro, we fighting over a block we don't even own.
Right.
We don't own 54. And old Child's Park. I'm like, man, look.
Right.
And I don't even know your name, but you from Child's Park.
And how do you identify where this person is from?
Because they be throwing up tray folk, throw up 5-4.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I started realizing how dumb it was, and I just started. Once I got my family and had my kids, like, man, I ain't thugging, risking my freedom no more.
Right.
And it's exactly what you said. You from here, I'm from here. Whatever you want to do.
The dad.
Right. It's generation to generation. And then with our mayor, you know, I've met him, you know, I respect him, you know, I feel like he does care, you know, but at the same time, we can march up and down the street all day long.
Right.
You know, I've done it.
Right.
I've done it to, you know.
Shooting happens.
But you know what? Until we put our hands on these children, nothing's gonna change. You know, the kids heard the, Jesus said from our grandmothers.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
We heard it.
Man, first thing they do is, we go again. They don't want to hear that.
Right.
They don't want to hear that.
Right.
You know what I mean? They want to hear facts. Mm-hmm. You know, when I had to go identify my son's body, and I lift his head to kiss my child because I've always been a hands-on, loving, touching mother, and I went to give my baby, and his brain matter was on my hand, and I refused to let anybody, wipe it off because that's all I had left of him. Wow. At my house, I still have the clothes he died in. I begged the police officer to give it to me. And he was like, no, he gave it to me, because I wasn't going to stop stalking him because it belonged to him.
Right.
I have the dirty clothes that were in his room at the time he died. They've never been washed because I could still smell them. So it's traumatizing. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so we just, you know what I mean? Yeah. He's gone. Who's gonna be next? And first thing you see on Facebook, come get your shirts. Come get your shirts.
Right.
And they glorifying it or something.
But this mother, Starlet, I've known her for years, just through being in St. Pete. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh,
This is the last thing on this mother's life, mine. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Her baby is gone.
Yeah.
Her baby is gone. He's not coming back.
Right.
She doesn't know how she's gonna wake up tomorrow morning. She doesn't know how it's gonna, how she's gonna live. There's so many things going through this woman's mind. And all she wants is justice.
Yeah.
I have still not gotten justice. Right. I know who killed my son.
Wow.
And most of St. Pete knows who killed my son, but you know what? That's their homeboy. Peanut was too, though.
Okay.
But you know what? Y'all can't snitch.
Wow.
That's a bunch of bull crap.
That's crazy. Let's take a break, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the Lakeside Chat, and we're discussing violence in our community, some of the problems, the effects, and also some of the solutions that we can pose as a community. And what we want to do is continue the conversation and discuss one of the things that come up a lot. And I don't want to have you dominate, but you just have such a moving testimony. What do you say to people who blame or put the sole responsibility on the parents for what happens to the children? What would be your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on that, I was a young mother. I had my first child when I was 16. I had Peanut when I was 17. I had 2 more after that, and in between time I adopted one. So I had 5 kids by the time I was 22. Mm-hmm. But I didn't club it. I didn't run the streets. I was always hands-on. I was always, at 25 years old, the neighborhood mom.
Right.
28, the neighborhood mom. Everybody's coming to me, don't got nowhere to stay. So, the day my son passed or was murdered, it was a, fighting situation. They was out there fighting, you know what I mean? And, we talk to our kids, we do what we can, you know what I mean, to try to sway them away from, making, negative choices or whatever. But I feel personally it's more as a community because it's what they see. They see these boys riding around with these nice cars, these big rims. They want that.
Yeah.
And I couldn't give my kids that. Right. We caught the bus many days. Right. I knew the bus route like the back of my hand. Yeah, you know what I mean? I would go get vouchers to go to the charities to put clothes on their backs when they were little, Right. And, I was struggling, but I always made a promise to them. I'll never give up. Right. And you can never get in trouble for telling me the truth. Right. Even if I didn't like it, you cannot get in trouble for telling me the truth because we'll work through anything. Right. And my kids will tell you that. I heard my son telling my grandson that one day, and I just smiled.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So, you know, there are parents that, you know, slacken in certain areas, and I'm sure I did, you know, because no one's perfect. We all make mistakes. I made mistakes. That's how I learned how to be a mother, by making mistakes.
That's right.
You know?
I'm sure that's because being a parent, I mean, it's really no manual.
Yeah.
You get on the job training.
You don't even know what type of child you're going to get. That's the thing. You might get
you really have to work and mold, you know, the children as individuals.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And, you know, now my oldest son is 29 and I'm 45. You know what I mean? And, you know, we kick it, but there's still that respect.
Right.
You know what I mean? There ain't no, you know, my children do not cuss in front of me. Hold up, wait a minute. Ain't going for it, you know, and they'll correct their friends because of that respect.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't care, you know, no, I don't feel like it's, you can't put this blame on the parents.
Right.
You have to put it on our community, if anybody, because you know what? The parents aren't killing their children. They might make mistakes in raising them.
Right.
You know, because I know I've made mistakes, and everyone who's sitting at this table has made some type of mistake when it comes to their children. But damn it, you know what I mean? I've never put a gun to my child's head, and I have never threatened my child's life.
Right.
You know what I mean? So no, you cannot blame the parent. You know, if you see a problem with the parent, help them.
Right. That's right.
Don't talk about them.
Right.
You know.
Don't talk down on them. Or
exactly.
Go help them out.
Or tell you, don't. No.
Right.
No, I think they're the same that she said. It's a lot to do with the community, because sometimes, like, you know, I see kids ride past. I say stuff. My husband be like, "You better stop saying stuff to everybody. Kids, those kids might." I don't care. You know, whatever happens, gonna happen. But if I see them doing something wrong, my spirit just say something. You know,
if
let
you
them
don't
know
and something happens,
watching
why didn't you say something?
Right.
But I just
Either
want
way
you
it
to know
goes,
somebody was watching. You need to know that somebody is always watching you, even if they ain't saying nothing. Like, I could have seen something just happen. Like, I done seen people dealing drugs right in front of me while I'm riding past. Like, what if I was the police?
Right.
You know, like, you know, but they just need to be more aware of what it is that they're doing, like she said. But it's definitely not on the parents. I feel like as a community, we all got to start just saying something. You know, you can't just keep overlooking the fact that the kid is flashing hundreds of dollars. Like, if I see my son doing that, where the hell you got all that money from? You know what I'm saying? What are you doing? You know, and I would want to be all in. Yeah, I'm all in. I'm like you, I'm all in.
I think it get easy to blame the parents, but we all know that we didn't learn everything we learned from our parents.
Right.
We all know that our parents had a portion in what we learned, and that accurate portion is that portion. But we know where we got the rest of that stuff from.
Right.
You get what I mean? And like we was talking earlier about, you know, it comes to a point of accountability for the youth and for their actions at the same time. Because I know my parents did good, you know, but I ain't always did good. You know, I've done some things that go contrary to what they've taught me or what I learned at home that'll make my parents look bad if I would have got caught bad or if I would have passed or something. You get what I mean?
Right.
So I know, like, one of the kids that passed, I know their parents, and I know, you know, they do their thing for their children. But that doesn't stop them when their child goes out in the streets, or that don't stop when they in another environment. And so that's when it goes to the community. You get what I mean? And then when the parents come home, I checked his books, I looked at all this stuff, he wasn't really, you know, doing this here and that there, but when they go outside, it's a whole different world. You know, and you don't know what your child doing. You can say we try our best. You get what I mean? But you don't know what them people doing, them people too. And I think that's where the community comes in. We gotta approach it as, like Dr. Warren was saying, these are people.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're young people, they're young adults, but these are people. They're capable of doing a lot of things.
How about that for an idea? Young people are people too. Like, just think about this, like, because a lot of times we even talk about them, we say the youth.
Like,
you know, and I like how you said our babies, our children, because, you know, it's like it's a contradiction in my opinion, because people say we need it takes a village mentality, but you don't see the children as your children. That's the first part of adopting a village mentality. So when you say something to those children, it's not somebody else's. It's like, these are my children also, and so I have the right to say something to them. But it's just, you think about how we grew up. We all had aunties and uncles that wasn't uncles and aunts by blood, but you know, people talk about it all the time. The glory days of when you did something at home and you got back. Did those adults look at us as the children or the youth? They saw us as a part of a community and a part of a whole.
They were going to discipline you and chastise you, and they didn't care who, and most likely, like the old saying, you go all the way down the sidewalk, and each one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you know what? They're afraid because they don't want the confrontation with the parents no more. Don't say nothing to my baby.
But do you know, like just like the I remember when the kid went in the guy's yard or something like that. Didn't he like shoot a man and kill him?
Oh, that was,
I'm not sure.
You remember that one situation?
I remember hearing about that. That was over by Wildwood
He
area.
was going to rob. He robbed the guy and then came back like the next day, and the guy was waiting for him.
Okay, I think I remember that.
And then
That
he
was
shot
this
the
year?
guy. Yeah, that was this year.
I think I remember
And
that.
then he shot the guy and killed the guy, right? Yeah.
It was the second time they came back for the second
sometimes
robbery.
when people are trying to stand up and say something, they get, killed or shot or worried about, those kids got guns. Like you say, they people now at this point. They're not like little kids. So it's kind of like you're having a confrontation with an adult almost, because the state of mind of these kids, and it's like not the way we used to think.
Just to kind of follow up on what Charlie Soprano was saying, like you said, your parents might be telling you to do what's right. Because to be honest, I was raised in the church. Mom and Daddy always took me to church. I played the drums in the church, and every time she said, "Do not go down there. I don't want you and your brother down there," because she knew the drug activity and was down there. But I was always curious why she telling me not to go down there. So eventually I ended up going down there because I'm finna see, kids bad. They gonna try to sneak off.
Right.
So I go down there. So that's when everything started. Oh, this what's going on. It looked cool. They got the boom boxes out. They hanging out. They smoking. They chilling. So my mama is a Christian. My dad is a Christian. My dad played the organ in the church. I was raised in the church, but I chose my own path, which I was not brought up to do. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't led to do that, you know what I'm saying? I started listening to Tupac, listening to that music, hanging out. That was my choice. Right. I made the bad decision. I had good parents to tell me not to do that. But sometimes, like he right, it ain't what, it's sometimes what the child, if he hard-headed, I would just speak for me, I was hard-headed.
Psychologists would call that nature versus nurture.
Right. Nature versus nurture.
And I was caught up. I got caught up in it. So it's sometimes
nature takes over.
Oh, and one more thing about it's the community. Now, the only way I could say it's the parents' fault, the way a child coming up, if one of them deadbeat parents like smoke with your child, hang out, they act like they sisters and brothers.
Yeah.
Like
but
like a lot of that go on. Like
and that's the thing. That's my whole thing with all of that and all of our arguments or debates about it. My whole problem with it is the way that we try to look for a silver bullet. Like we want to find that one thing that's the problem. And so you got some people that say it's the parents. But then the people who say, well, it's the community. And now the people who think it's the parents fighting with the people who think it's the community. And then somebody else come in and say, both of y'all wrong. It's the white man. You know what I mean? And so now you got the group that's talking about the white man. You know what I mean?
The white man gets
it more. But I mean, and you got to look at my whole thing. And even with what we talked about solutions with marching, people say, well, marching don't do no good. And so people say, well, let's have a meeting. And then the people who say, well, we don't want to meet. Meeting don't do good. And then you got the people that want to create jobs. And they say, well, it ain't jobs, it's education. Everybody's looking for the one thing as opposed to saying, okay, we need all of it. We need, because it is some deadbeat parents.
Gonna do this?
You know what I mean?
We need something that's going to get their attention though.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because kids are so easily bored. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Attention.
Mama made me come to this thing, man.
Right.
Want to be,
Right.
You know?
And I like that because my whole thing is that we're not talking their language. Well, I'm not saying us in particular, but the organization and groups that are reaching out to these people, they're not talking their language. That's why the teachers
like
have a hard
the religion
time.
Thing, you know what I mean?
They ain't talking. That ain't the language no more.
Because they got the internet. They got the internet, and you telling them all of this stuff about like these holidays, and that go back to education. Where you telling me Columbus discovered America. What? Oh yeah. They know better.
Yeah,
right.
You know
what I'm saying?
You gotta respect. Like if you're not gonna be honest with me when it comes to educating me, how am I gonna respect?
Losing me off top.
I'm gonna respect your laws, and you can't even educate me.
Right. You can't even tell me the truth. But you want me to be honest with you.
Right.
You want me to keep it 100 with you. But you want to tell me all of these, and like what you said about the attention. So when you talked about your coming up and being in the church, and I had a 2-parent household also, and I can relate to you know, how you make your own choices. You know, you
at the
do
end of the day.
at the end of the day. And so, what are some of the things that caught your attention that was able to get you to, like you said, your family was one, but what are some things that got your attention to say, you know what, I need to, you know, change this route before it ends the way I see it end so many times?
When I turned, like I said, when I turned 21, I started realizing how dumb it was to be thugging on this block.
Right.
And then on top of that, my homies was catching life. They was dying. I seen people just doing stupid stuff. I'm like, wow, I think my mentality just got like, okay, this is really stupid.
Right.
Then I had my babies. You know what I'm saying? So that really made
And I
me.
wasn't having it for much longer.
So give me that. So give me that perspective. Because how long y'all been married for? How long?
It's
Well,
gonna be
10 years.
years.
No, it's 10 years that we've been married.
Yeah.
It's like 19, you know.
But we've been
on and off
together
for
since she was
teenage
14.
years. Yeah, 14, 15.
Gotcha.
So we
So
like
that's
high
like
school
2 years ago.
She did used to get mad. She say, "Why you going?" Because they used to come get me to fight.
Right.
So it's going down. It's finna go down over here. She used to hate it because we already established the foundation. We had a house and cars and stuff. So I was already out of that. But they'll feel like this was the thing, the double standard. My dogs will feel like I ain't got their back if I don't come with them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So you got to make a decision.
You feel me?
Yeah.
Me or them.
Right.
And
Yeah, that's
these
what I had
are
to
not
go
your
through.
friends if they're gonna put you in a situation where you're gonna jeopardize your family.
I ain't gonna
Like,
lie.
that's what I felt like. These aren't your friends.
Sometimes I did go,
Yeah.
and I'd be like, dang, I hope nothing don't happen, because she wanted me to stay. She'll be mad at them too.
Right. Right.
Why you going to fight with these boys?
Yeah,
You know y'all
I
can
don't
go to
like
jail.
them now. Like, y'all can't even come to my
jeopardizing
house.
your
Yeah, I
long-term
don't even like
survival.
you at this point.
And they scared of Monique.
Yeah, now I'm the mean wife. I don't care. I could be mean. Call me what you want, but
Brother Jabbar, what got your attention, man? What did it take for you to
Really just doing time and learning and seeing so many people, like you said, go to jail, and then just knowing, okay, well, you got a chance. You ain't in jail right now.
Right.
And that used to always be like my thought pattern. It's just like, okay, I ain't in jail right now, so
like right
I
now.
got a chance. You know what I mean?
Right.
Cause like the majority of, you know, that's really out there, you go to jail. The odds against you.
Yeah.
You don't get killed as much. The murder rate ain't as high as
Going to jail.
as going to jail. Right. Everybody's going to jail. Yeah. Listen, the system ain't playing. These people ain't playing. They got it laid out. Everybody going to jail. So that was my thought. Like, hey man, I did jail time, man. I don't want to do no more jail time. Yeah. And I brought in my horizons. I learned some other stuff that helped me get out.
Right.
But if without me knowing a few extra things, like you said, if you're smart enough to know the 10 extra hustles, if you're not smart enough, you're gonna be stuck, because that's the only way you know to get money.
Right.
You know what I mean? You gotta have some kind of supplemental income to supplement that, or supplemental opportunity.
Right.
If the first opportunity is a crime, and then you have to have another opportunity to outweigh that crime, because pretty soon you just like, oh, every day I wake up, we breaking in the car. Steal a car and get some money and get a radio, or because that's all they're doing is like $25, $50 crime.
Yeah, they're just looking for
They're not looking for thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Right.
And
You
just
know
to
what I
add
mean?
one thing to that, just to notice that now that when I smartened up, and then I realized there's so much other things I could be doing, so much opportunity.
Yeah.
So now when I go, and because we got another whole generation of 54 members, I go to the block and I say, this all we used to do, stand on this corner all day, nothing under the subway tree,
Right.
trying to hang out and smoke. Like, dang, I was stupid. I could have been trying to get balling.
Right.
I could have had college degree.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I could have been in college instead of under the tree at 21. You know what I'm saying?
So you look back and you see the time that's been wasted.
Be like, what was I thinking?
All right, so with that, we'll take a break, and then we'll come back for the last segment of the Lakeside Chat. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome back to the Lakeside Chat. I'm your host, Brother John Muhammad, and we have a wonderful panel. We're having a beautiful conversation, and I hope you're able to gain something from it. You can go to our page, facebook.com/cdatcenter, and join the conversation. Leave your thoughts and your views. Also, if you want to support the New Image project that we have, you can go to our website at cdatcenter.webs.com, and you can donate to the New Image project, which is a part of this Lakeside Chat. So our final segment with our guests, we're just going to wrap up and discuss some solutions. We talked about the problems and the effects, and we did weave in some excellent ideas. But when it comes to reaching our children and changing the mindset, what would you say would be some inroads for us to do that? And I'll start with you, Ms. Swisher.
I wish I knew, to be honest with you. Like I mentioned before, pairing our children up with individuals, with adults that have been through the system, that have been shot, or that are sitting in wheelchairs, what I mean, for life, give them open the window so they can see exactly what this person has gone through and is going through.
So when you saying pairing them up, I'm hearing like a mentor program.
Exactly.
But not a mentor program where you have to pass a level 2 background.
Exactly.
A mentor program where you can actually be introduced to somebody who's lived that lifestyle.
Right.
Because that's one of the things that I see with these mentor programs too, is
You got
the real ones who can help them. They can't.
Yeah,
they can't compare. Well, they can't relate.
They can't
participate. Period.
They can't relate. And then this pastor, hey, I'm not down to nobody. This pastor comes up and it's nice, Altamar or whatever, with the and the jewelry on and the 3-piece suit.
Yeah.
This kid's looking like I'll never wear that. What the heck?
Right.
Why am I sitting here talking to this guy? This guy can't tell me anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
But yet there's this man that's been to prison 5 times that's seen everything from has done everything.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And can hopefully look, you don't want to go through what I want to do.
Right. That you want it, but that ain't
exactly. Scare the hell out of these kids.
Yeah, and give them some reality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because all this, you can live the perfect life. Come on, let's be real.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that's how I feel. You know what I mean?
But that's reality. I mean, and it's reality-based mentoring.
Yeah.
That's the term that we can share. That we're gonna patent that. Reality-based mentoring, where you have people that understand the lifestyle and they didn't just read about it in a book.
Right.
I think that's
and that's why I feel like that's a step towards hopefully changing some of these kids. Their beliefs or their thoughts, or I have a lot of respect for our pastors in our community because they do come out and they do try to make a change, you know what I mean? But, I feel like if I had a choice, because I have a son, not biologically mine, but I've raised him since birth, and he's 17, and if he was out there stealing, shooting, doing whatever, okay, you want a taste of this? I'm going to give you a taste of it. Mm-hmm. Let me get the hardest guy in St. Pete to sit down and scare the hell out of you.
Right.
I want him to scare you to the point where you're going to think, you're not going to be able to sleep that night because that's going to be on your mind.
That's true. And I know you make music, both of you actually y'all in that industry, and you talked about listening to the Tupac and how that had an influence in that. So how big of an influence do you think that the music has, and how can we infiltrate that and use that as a tool for change?
Well, I think it has great impact on our kids nowadays, especially the younger ones, 17, 16, about to be 18, listening to the Young Thug. That's their generation now.
Right, right. The skinny pants people.
Yeah, that's their new swag, the skinny jeans. But Young Thug, he's telling me, like, he'll tell people he kill people, he'll do this to you, and some people don't like Young Thug, but it's more people, that be in the industry. So I think that has a great impact on them, because after you do get out here in the real world, you hear music, whether it's in the car, you're gonna go to somebody's house, he's gonna play this for you.
Right.
You're gonna start hearing this rap music. It's gonna start sounding good to you. Like, dang, you really might do this. Then you might want to try because it sounds good. It's going with a nice beat.
Yes.
Like, dang, I might want to rap too. And then if you start rapping, maybe you might want to do that, what he's saying in his rap. Carry this gun, got this jewelry on, got this money on. So.
And that's a good point. That made me think about, like, in any educational system, you have credentials that you have to get, or credits that you get. They call it street cred, right?
Yeah.
In any institution. And so it just dawned on me with what you were saying, because like when you go to school, you get credits for doing this, and you get and so even if you want to be a rapper, or if you want to be in that industry or in that lifestyle, there's certain things that you have to do in order to get credit. You know what I mean?
That's a great point.
So now that legitimizes you in that environment. You see what I'm saying? Because I always wonder, why would you do it? But that would be my idea based upon what you just said. It just hit me like you would do it in order to get the credits that you need to be on the top of that lifestyle. Because you want to be the best or the boss. You know what I mean? And in order to be the boss, you got to do what the boss does. And this is what they're saying that they do.
Even in the streets, you got to get your credit up. Like, oh, he's really hard. Like, you want to build your credit up. Let me go punch this dude in the face in front of these people. Let me know I'm tough. And
that's the other thing. Nobody's really telling you to do that. It's not outright, but it's just the idea that you have, and then you start acting on it, and it spreads. Brother, why would you say? I know we have the New Image Project.
I think that the mentoring, there's a lot of programs already out there. There's a lot of programs, and a lot of programs aren't meeting their marks, and they'll say it. You know, they're not reaching the people that they need to reach. And my biggest thing is, I think, is a language barrier, and it's a communication barrier. We're talking different words. You know, they talking about jugging and finessing, and we talking about opportunity. Well, to catch a jug and finesse the plug, that's an opportunity.
Right.
In a different wording.
Right.
You know what I mean? But you have to be able to communicate that and talk and understand it. So how I'm gonna help you if all you talking about is jugging and finessing something?
Right.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. And then they get offended because they don't understand.
And really talk.
And then they call you stupid. But you know what I mean? Because they don't understand your language. That's something.
And then break you down because, like, I don't understand what you're talking about. You're not coherent. You're not speaking in what they call it in the proper English, the language. And so now everybody feeling a certain kind of way leaving the room. I ain't going back to that mentoring place. He ain't talking to me right. And then the mentor like, man, all this dumb boy talking about is jugging and finessing something.
Right.
But if you get on their level, they think it's so funny, then they open up.
Because they looking at you like, damn, you know what jugging is?
You know, but I ask them, like when my kids say stuff, I'll ask them, like, you know, what does that mean? I'll say, that's not what that means. You know, I'll tell them what we called it. Or, you know what I'm saying? So, but they're taking our words and switching it into other meanings, and so I'm like, y'all trying to trick us and have y'all own language, so we won't know what y'all talking about. They're like,
that's really what you said. That's what hip hop is. I mean, that's the hip hop culture, because we took ill and made it something cool. You know what I mean? It was like, man, that thing ill, that thing deaf. You know, we took and we changed the language. We didn't go with what they told us words meant. We gave them our own meaning. And now that we've grown up, we get offended by the children doing the same thing. And every generation do that. You know, and that's something. So, I mean,
I had a couple ideas.
Sure.
Okay, so one thing that I did want to do that I felt like could help give back is do like a teen summit, and not necessarily make it like a party or whatever, but I do feel like we like he said, we have to speak their language, so we have to find a way to bring things that they're interested in, but also be educating them. So I think a lot of times it's interesting, they're not even realizing that they're getting educated at the same time, but you can still put it out there that we are educating y'all, and that because that's what I want to switch to the state of mind, is that it's not about partying, and I want them to get that before 17. Like what age?
I was gonna say with the party thing, because that's a topic. Because like when I was growing up, we had like we had different places.
The Galaxy.
We had the Galaxy, and then we had different dances, different house parties, and that's the energy we're going to have to accept getting off their chest. And if we can have some organized parties and organized pool parties that's organized a little more than just letting them be organic. You get what I mean? So we can get and deliver a message once they get there. We can let them listen to their young thought, but then turn it down and say, hey, y'all, look here. For 5-10 minutes, hit me out. And I feel that the community organizers are scared to do that. Because that's not their element. Like the other night,
it's just not in the playbook.
It's not in the. The other day, I was in the club. You know, I film and I do stuff. I be in the club. I'm in the club. You know, a lot of these kids are 17, 16. This is the target audience. but the targeters aren't there.
Right.
You get what I mean? If we were looking to do some harm or do something to them, we'll know where to catch them at.
Right.
You get what I mean?
Right.
So now if we want to do something positive, we still can catch them at that same place.
Right. We talked about speaking their language, and I saw that video on Facebook where they had, I think it was like 3rd or 4th graders, and they was in the class saying whip and nay, but they was doing it with their ABCs.
Oh.
They had like lessons that they was doing.
I saw that too.
You know what I mean? So that is something that, like, if you in a class with that, then you're gonna want to go to that class, because now when you go home, you doing the whip and the nay, even if you changing the words, that has an impact on you.
Engage.
You know what I mean? But again, that's not something that's in the play.
So are you still
engaging.
thinking like that we should utilize the music to teach?
I absolutely think we should. I mean, that's how
Because I mean,
I learned.
it's teaching them regardless if we using it or not.
Exactly.
I mean, they're getting taught by.
We got to recognize it as a tool,
yeah.
and I think we absolutely have to use it.
And I think we should fight against so many things that change so hard and so hard-headedly that we won't help the kids who we can influence through what they like. I know you like Jordans. I know you like to be fly. I'm gonna help you get fly.
Right.
Oh, I know you want to go do this here. How about I help you do that? Because that's what the drug dealer do.
Yeah.
Right.
The drug dealer, boy, what you want?
Right.
And that's the motto of the drug street. Like, what you want, I help you get it.
Right.
I show you how to break in the house and get what you want.
Yeah.
So why can't somebody positive come up and be like, hey, you want that? Because the first thing we're going to tell them is, no, you don't need to want that. You need to go to college. You need to...
Yeah. We tell them, right.
You're wrong
I
for
just want
wanting
to
that.
I just want a pair of shoes. I just want the Jordans.
Right.
You get, I just want the new beats, but in the reality, we can get you that.
Right. That's
And
true.
we can use it, and then we can use that as an incentive to get you to do something good.
Absolutely. All right, so with that, we could just do closing thoughts from everybody, and just, you know, anything that you got going on or anything that we need to know, any words that you have for our viewers.
You know, like I said, you know, what's going on here in St. Pete in our community, you know, with our babies, you know, it's so disheartening, you know, and I just feel like I sit back and I listen and I keep telling myself, you need to do something, you need to do something, you know. I just can't sit here and, you know, read it on Facebook or, you know, hear about it on Channel 9 News. I need to do something.
Right.
And it's my mission to get out there and do something. Because you know what, until they knock on your door, you know.
Shit don't affect them like
Exactly.
It's not real to you, right.
You know, and I know thousands and thousands of mothers lost their sons or daughters before I did. But God knows I didn't want anyone else to lose theirs after I lost mine. You know, but it's still continuing.
Absolutely. Thank you definitely for coming. We appreciate
Thank you for having me.
I know it takes a lot of courage to get out here, so we really appreciate it.
I want to say to the youth, the young generation now, please put these guns down. Don't make you tough. I wish y'all could do it like we used to do back in the day. You get your little fight, you can still live another day.
Right.
If you gotta fight. I don't condone fighting, let's be clear on that. But put them guns down, because you're hurting parents, you're hurting everybody's families. It doesn't make you a man just to carry a gun. And education, man. Get your education. I'm saying this to y'all youth. I know you want to play and ball a lot, but education is very important. That's going to help you in life. I just want to say that to the kids.
Mo?
Well, I am More Resources, so y'all make sure y'all stay tuned to Closer to the Streets. They're coming back up on Thursdays from 6 to 7 p.m. I'll tell y'all all the updates, so follow me on Facebook, More Resources. And I do want to just appreciate Brother John for always supporting me. I do think that you are like a great inspiration and a positive person that we can be able to get our dreams out, you know, because that's like you was just saying, like we need that one person that says like you can have it or you can do it. Right. I feel like you did give me that outlet, so I appreciate you.
Didn't realize that.
One of my outlets. But I've had several people that you know has in this city that has given me outlets to be able to like make my dreams and the things that I plan come true. So and that's giving me faith too to continue to be able to do whatever I come up with. You know, whatever my mind comes up with, I don't never feel like, you know, I can't do it. But it's because I have people that, you know, help me and make me know that I can do it. So find some Brother Johns out there. They're out here.
It's the truth.
My closing words, just follow me on Facebook, Jabbar Edmonds, and Thank Brother John, everybody, the Lakeside Chat, and everybody who watching, follow us, and that's it.
All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Lakeside Chat. Stay tuned. Believe and do good.